You guys ready to do a show?
We call ourselves the Elite.
If not us, who?
A little bit of the bubbly.
And if not now, when?
We don't care about race or gender or sex or religion. If you're an elite athlete, we want you.
This is an official declaration of war. Change the world.
We are going to change the whole universe!
This is what you call a paradigm shift.
This is a family! This is a revolution! We can never stop!
All Elite Wrestling!
For the 35th time, it's Friday morning, and you know what that means. It's time for the next chapter of the only professional wrestling podcast that is changing the world every week. This is Seeing the Elite, an AEW podcast. I am your host, Bryce Reed. I am joined by my friend, my co-host, my tag team partner, Mr. Jonathan Davis.
What's up, dude?
If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. Jonathan and I are two friends, fans, lovers of professional wrestling. We're here every single Friday morning with all the latest news from All Elite Wrestling, thanks to our EVP Chris Genro and our supporters on Patreon. If you're a supporter on Patreon, then you know that you help make the secret sauce that makes our time together each week oh so delicious. But if you haven't signed up yet, we need you to help us make this show better and better every week. Get over to patreon.com/seeingtheelite. Subscribers get a ton of awesome perks within our community, as well as bonus episodes, access to show notes, and getting to watch us record the show live. We hope that you'll consider joining our inner circle, patreon.com/seeingtheelite. Before we go any further, this is a very special episode of the show. Of course, not coming out on Friday, coming out on Monday morning, our old time slot.
This is our quarterly episode.
Quarterly special episode as we talk all about Full Gear and everything that happened around it. This is not a sports entertainment show. It's an entertaining sports show supported by fans like you from all over the world on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, podcast services everywhere. Subscribe, review, give us 5 stars. Just like Meltzer, it makes us feel so sweet. Jonathan, how sweet?
Too sweet, buddy.
Facebook.com/seeingtheelite, Twitter @seeingtheelite. But if you really want to be part of the crew, if you really want to be in with all of our friends who watched Full Gear with us last night and had a blast, tinyurl.com/seeingtheelite. I think this is the time when we need to talk about the results from Full Gear. We don't have Anthony on the line to talk about us, but he updated us on everything. First of all, Equal Scorpion won, the new champion, 2-time champion, first ever. Very exciting, and congratulations to him. Wonderful to have him back as the champion.
For the Seeing the Elite family title, my dad beat our asses.
I don't know where Anthony listed on that, but there's no way Anthony got any further than him either. He was up near the top.
Yeah, I think overall, if we did a standing sheet of how everybody broke down, I think my dad ended up finishing second or third.
The most important thing, people who haven't listened to the show, they don't know that within our Discord community, we do our picks for this. This is what all this is about. We give away a very special award to the person who scores the lowest. And this person, oh man, Jodo Cow, our buddy Shane, he has gotten this award 3 times now. He is spectacularly bad at this game. He's so bad at this game that he should be famous for being bad at this game, which is better than just being kind of bad at the game, I suppose. And he has secured once again our Michael Nakazawa Participation Award, proving that he is.
I mean, he's in an elite company of so we've had 5 shows now?
Yeah.
There's only been 3 winners of the Michael Nakazawa Award. One of them was my girlfriend's, our wonderful intern.
Yeah.
And like, Shane's just I didn't know he would want to keep this so badly.
I feel like he's maybe intentionally like picking what he doesn't think will happen at this point. But I feel even then you'd probably beat us pretty easy if you did that, right? So I don't know.
I mean, me and you, we did pretty good this time.
Yeah, we did all right. JD, you owe me a fucking t-shirt though.
Oh, you shit.
Hey, man,
I want a Jake Hager t-shirt. I'm not buying you a fucking Jake Hager t-shirt.
I know, but it doesn't matter because you can't beat one anyway. So here's how it broke down. JD came to me late in the game, said, hey, are we going to do this? I said, do what? He said, t-shirt bet for Full Gear. I said, okay, JD, if that's what you want to do, I'm in. Prepare to be embarrassed. And I embarrassed him. But then...
Okay, hold on. There was no actual embarrassment here. We didn't score that far apart.
Okay.
And you got curb stomped in like the first 2 matches.
I did. And that's why I lost to Anthony. Anthony and I had a bet for our house championship that I would take him on for the championship. And if I lost, Anthony gets to pick the stipulations because he's the champion. If I lost, I would have to... Because
you're running out of ideas?
Yeah, I would have to go... I would have to do this thing that he asked. And what he asked was that I changed my Discord name to Jake Hager's #1 fan. That
I don't like this.
That I like Jake Hager on Facebook. And now for the next 3 months, whenever Jake Hager is brought up, I have to be positive about it.
I didn't see that part.
Yeah. So
this is bullshit.
So from now on, whenever Jake Hager comes up on the show, he's the greatest of all time.
I should have fucking vetoed this shit because this directly affects me and I don't like it.
So unfortunately, shopaew.com does not have any Jake Hager t-shirts.
Thank God.
So gonna have to go with something else, but that's a real shame for me because he's just my favorite wrestler in the whole world, And I just...
Okay, in the future, when you're making bets with your brother and he's picking stipulations, if there's shit that affects me, I'm vetoing it.
I don't see how this affects you at all.
Because I have to listen to this horse shit and I have to see your goddamn screen name all the time and it's already pissing me off.
As always, JD...
I will give you, Jake Hager has been better the past 6 weeks than ever.
Yeah.
But still, this is directly affecting me.
But even when he was on Lucha Underground, he was just magnificent, Like
no, he wasn't. You're so fucking full of shit. You went off on rants that were so much worse than any of mine ever were. All I said was he's fucking boring. You were like going beat for beat for beat of why he's terrible.
Yeah, that sounds like me. JD on the time codes, as always. We're gonna get started with a quote.
A very short quote.
Quote: "Hi, yes, hello. I hate this." That's a quote from Miss Renee Young in the middle of the match that we will talk about later. I know that I promised last week that I wouldn't do any sort of long-winded diatribes about matches. I have failed on that one. I didn't do it on every match on Full Gear, but oh boy, did I do it later on. And oh man.
Yeah.
But it's fine because I was getting to the last 2 matches. I was like, I have 4 pages of content here. So
would have been fine.
No, it wouldn't have. We would have gotten to the end of it and been like, well, that was a good 35 minutes. But the last 2 matches on this pay-per-view I thought were
also
matches.
The last 2 matches were longer than that was a
super long. The last 2 matches were like 35 and then like 45 minutes.
So when you figure it up, that's like an hour 15 plus.
Yeah.
That was a majority of, that could count for like half of the pay-per-view, or at least not half, a third of the pay-per-view matches were right there.
Let's start with the Shadow Drop AEW Dark, even though it feels like a lifetime ago now.
Yeah, you were upset by this. I think it makes sense that right before this pay-per-view that's supposed, the traditional thought of pay-per-views in wrestling is when you have a pay-per-view, it's a clean slate starting the day after.
Sure.
Clear out your storyline, start over. So this made sense to me. We had these extra dark matches. Let's go ahead and throw them out there because they're not going to affect anything that we're doing going forward. And like, you know, you and I have also talked like we hope that they're going to be changing how AEW Dark's format is. This gives me hope that they are taking that feedback and they might be maybe doing that.
I mean, we're not getting another episode this week. I can't. They don't have any content to put up this
Right.
week,
There's nothing to do. So but I mean, it's like when we get back to another episode of AEW Dark, we may have a shift in format because we're full clean slate.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't upset about. I was just shocked by it, and then the only thing that crept into my mind was the bullshit reason of like, I have to break down this pay-per-view and this AEW Dark.
Fair, and I mean to be honest with you, the AEW Dark was.
It's fine. It was fine. We're gonna talk.
First
about
match was good. I liked the first match.
Hikaru Shida versus Big Swole. Big Swole. Congratulations to Big Swole for signing an AEW contract this past week.
Yeah, I think her and Mercedes Martinez.
Yes,
have signed.
I believe that they both did kind of on the sly this week. Not a lot of details were out, but they are officially.
Officially have contracts now, which is good news for the women's division.
It's great news for the women's division because I think Big Swole is really good.
Yeah, I do as well.
Paul Turner is the referee for this match. Commentary features Excalibur, Golden Boy, and Arn Anderson. Arn Anderson sounds like. Does he always sound like that?
Mm-hmm.
Does he have like permanently damaged vocal cords?
It's very possible. Dude, you gotta remember he was wrestling in like the 70s.
Sure.
They had some hard living back then.
He's just got this weakness to his voice sounds like Lemmy in his late years when you were like, oh dude, okay.
Yeah, I think it's more just I always remember Arn just being very soft spoken. And I think that's just kind of progressed to a point now where even in his age, it just sounds like, oh, he sounds very weak. But you can look at the man. The man is not weak at all. He is fucking built like a horse.
Right. Nothing into his overall health. Just his vocal quality is very strange, especially for commentary. You don't typically hear someone on commentary who's like, well, thank you very much. You know, very strange.
I want Mike Tyson on commentary now.
I really liked this match, though. I thought the match was a good story with good flow, strong, well-performed moves. Shida ended up pinning Big Swole off of a running knee, which is a lot of her offense is based off running knees. I thought it was a really good match, and Shida continues to impress me as someone who I'm like, why are you on Dark every week?
I feel the same way. I mean, it makes sense to me why she's on Dark. They are building her audience, getting her matches in there, getting her more comfortable. You know, we talked a lot about
I guess, but like fucking Riho didn't need to build an audience.
Riho's fucking Kenny Omega.
Okay, all right.
You got nothing.
I don't know that that's for sure true, but.
If they're not fucking, they are. You know what I mean. They are in such a close friendship relationship that he has chosen her.
It's who you know.
Yeah,
but
Shida is doing the first few matches she had in AEW were rough because the speeds were so different. But she has picked this up so quickly and doing so much better than any of the other Joshi women when working with a non-Joshi performer. I really enjoyed this match. I thought same thing. Like it was good flow. It was very stiff. There weren't any real botches that I seen. Nothing was sloppy. These two performers worked very well together. I think part of the reason why the Joshi women have been having a problem with the non-Joshi performers is the language barrier, and because Hikaru does speak such good English, she can communicate with her opponent.
But I feel like the Joshi women have had issues working with each other as well.
I agree, and they have it, but it's always more apparent when it's a Joshi and a non-Joshi.
Sure.
And I think it's real. Part of it is the speed issue is that Joshi wrestling is so much slower, and the other part of it is like there's a gigantic language barrier there, and that was neither of those issues were apparent in this match. Everything was very, very good.
Yes, I think Sheeta's a big star because, first of all, I mean, she's beautiful. Second of all, her ring gear, I think, is on a better level than anybody else, which I've stated before. I think for the Joshi women, she has the best sort of ring gear and the best sort of look character.
Oh,
right?
you mean because it's not a Freddie Mercury jumpsuit or a tutu?
Correct. Yes. I understand low bar of entry here. And I think she's caught onto what American style wrestling needs from her the best out of all of them. And I hope that she'll get a bigger spot once she's sort of finished up in Japan, as she's talked about, and finished her move to America.
Yeah, I think she's got a couple, maybe a few more months in Stardom, and I think that may be also a big reason why she's on Dark as opposed to the main show. Is
Well, she said she had 8 matches left a week ago, so
that can translate to multiple months, though.
maybe. I don't know.
I don't know for sure, but just in smaller wrestling promotion, 8 matches can mean 4 months.
Sure.
So that's my assumption of why she's on Dark, is she's not 100% signed.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
Shaza McKenzie, she is signed. She's 100% signed.
Yes,
She's been on the website for a while. Not Shaza, but Sheeta.
I thought she was still unsigned. Okay.
She was one of the first signed. Shaza McKenzie and Shalandra Royale versus Nyla Rose and Leva Bates. This was a squash match disguised as a tag team match. Barely.
Which was just dumb.
Sexy Chucky T.
I get it. Understand the reasonings behind it, but I
thought it was better. I thought story-wise there was more to dig into than just doing a handicap match. And I understood it, and I liked that they took the time to do that.
That's fair. And you built 2 angles out of this.
Yeah. Chuck Taylor on commentary for this match. But he seemed pretty bummed out and didn't really offer much, sadly.
It's because he can't say the S word, man.
He's upset about it.
He's so mad. It really cheeses him off.
The ref was some fucking random guy who, I wish that I knew his name, but he's not one of the normal ref team. The story of this match is that Nyla requested that it be a handicap match, but Tony didn't allow it, or rather, The Office didn't allow it, and assigned
The Office. Tony,
right? Who's fucking Tony, and everybody knows it. And assigned Leva as her partner, so Nyla just never tags her in throughout the match. I thought that was kind of a funny and clever way to do it. Again, to do a handicap match, but not do a handicap match, because ultimately Nyla has to decide whether or not to make it a tag match. So Nyla just beats the shit out of both women, hits a double Samoan drop, follows with a double senton, then covers both women for the win, which is Leva's first win. And I did like that Leva was like, yeah, she got a win. All she did was stand on the fucking apron, but she's like, hey man, a win's a win, Nyla does a quick backstage after this, the point of which is that she feels as though she's been disrespected because each elimination in the Battle Royal didn't count as a win in her win-loss record, which
was not a good interview on both sides.
Well, it's just because it makes her seem like she's not very smart, because that's not how a win-loss record works.
No, I just meant some of the language that was used, like the end of it, like, I can do this because I'm Nyla Rose and I'm the native badass.
The native beast. Yeah.
And I was like, don't do that. Please don't do that. And part of it is, dipshit interviewing her with the personality of a brick. I wasn't sold on the interview, and I've in my opinion, I felt it hurt her more than helped her because of just how it was just very awkward to me.
I didn't feel that bad about it. I just thought her premise was kind of weird. As such, she intends to start treating everyone else disrespectfully from here on out. It wasn't good. The Hybrid 2 and Kip Sabian versus Sky, Kazarian, and Shima. Chucky T, again, he does a little bit better on this match once he gets into it. Bryce Remsburg is the referee. And I got to say, I haven't mentioned this on previous episodes, although I've meant to. Bryce Remsburg is my favorite referee in this company, and not
Weird
because,
how that works out.
not because we have the same name. It's because watch him during his matches. He's
He's
fucking funny.
fucking everywhere too.
He's everywhere, but literally every time anyone hits anyone, he flinches.
Yeah.
As though he's never seen a wrestling match before. Someone hits anyone with anything and he's like, it's so ridiculous.
It is, but it's it's some small things like that keep that believability into this.
Yeah.
And it draws you in because like even the ref is like, oh fuck, that was bad.
As for the match, it's all right. It suffers from AEW Dark syndrome, which is just, it feels like, okay, we're having a match because we're having a match. But I thought it was solid. Shima in particular had an impressive showing during the match.
He was fucking everybody
he was
up
on
that
top
match.
of it. He was leaping in the air and shit. It was awesome. SCU and Shima win after hitting Kip Sabian with an SCU later into a Meteora, and that the episode ends on like a Full Gear commercial.
I think I enjoyed this match. It was like you said, it was okay. It was solid, but it wasn't the best. I'm really enjoying the Hybrid 2 and Kip Sabian trio. I think that's a really good fit for Kip Sabian. Those three guys mesh really, really well together.
Yeah.
Shima joining SCU and then on commentary he's like, yeah, he's an honorary member of SCU. It's like, that was weird, but such is life. They were really holding CD back to do that big reveal, which makes sense. It's perfectly good, as well as Shima needing a match. What was odd is that Shima was featured here, and after they changed that match on Dynamite, because you and I is like, oh, maybe it's a visa issue of why Shima didn't show up.
They just moved him to Dark.
Yeah, that was very strange to me, but such is life.
You know what I think would save this show is take the TV title idea and put it on Dark.
Cody was talking this week in some of the press junkets about a mid-card title will be coming. And he hates the word mid-card, but a secondary title will be coming in a few weeks.
Have an AEW Dark title, make it the main event of AEW Dark every week. And have it look exactly like the regular AEW title, but all black.
Sure.
The AEW Dark title.
As well as, start selling replica belts. I want one.
Before we get into Full Gear, I wanted to list some notable highlights from Tony's post-show media scrum.
Before you do that, there's been another tweet by Renee Young last night.
Oh, was there?
Amazing. This was around when the match was ending. She posted out to her. Anyways, I hear Christmas movies are a great palate cleanser, and in parentheses, help.
Tony's post-show media scrum. First piece of information, while AEW is not yet ready to announce the pay-per-view for Q1 2020, Tony is happy to announce that Double or Nothing 2 will air live from MGM Grand's Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada over Memorial Day weekend. If there was any doubt in your mind that this was happening, although I don't know why there would be, expel it. It's happening. He literally openly said it's happening. Double or Nothing 2 is happening Memorial Day weekend, Grand Garden Arena.
Yeah, and I mean, I think he said it at All Out at the post-show speech that Chicago for for Labor Day weekend and Memorial Day for Vegas, those were two static shows that they would be having every year. The other pay-per-views would, they're quarterly, but they're going to rotate. But those are the way I'm looking at them is one's to kick off the new year of content, one's to end the year of content.
Sure. May rotate, because I think if they put the February one in New York City, then I don't think they'll rotate it.
If they can get that one arena that we know is going to be very difficult, yes.
Sure. Yes. Yeah, for a lot of reasons. And we'll talk about that if it ever comes up. But yeah, for a lot of reasons.
It's not just that one person. It's also That arena has a lot of weird issues.
A lot of weird rules. Madison Square Garden is what we're talking about, by the way. Joey Janela is okay, is another piece of information that he shared. There was a worry of him not being after the match. He kind of needed medical attention after the match, but he's going to be fine.
What about Kenny?
We'll talk about that. But he said everybody was okay. He didn't even think Kenny would miss Dark this week. Or Dynamite this week. Sorry.
So Kenny's on Dark this week.
No, he said, I don't even think they'll miss Wednesday, is what he said. So,
okay.
B and Britt Baker was, up until as recently as this week, supposed to be on the main card, but got shuffled due to one of the performers, either Britt or B, having a personal scheduling conflict. Walk-up sales and day of sales were significant in the Baltimore market for Full Gear.
That's weird.
I don't know what I would attribute late sales and walk-up sales being significant to. I think a lot of it would have to do with the information getting passed around that tickets went on sale on the second-hand market pretty cheap, and so people just sort of waited. Additionally, Baltimore, it's not like playing in Chicago. It's not like playing in Las Vegas.
I think it's significant because I think there was just a lot of people who were like waiting for the card to be filled out because like you and I discussed, like this is Full Gear. This is the real pay-per-view that's like going to determine a lot of shit.
And the hype was significantly less than it was for the last two pay-per-views. It just was.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting to see what somebody whose job it is to analyze this data would say about walk-up sales and day ofs being a big deal for them.
I think part of it is the market that they were in. Part of it is just that, Full Gear was announced at All Out, but there was we knew nothing. We knew TV was going to come for a good portion of time before that to build up to all this. So there wasn't that big rush of this is the big weekend of the year kind of thing. So it's I think Full Gear is going to be the norm for 2 of the pay-per-views per year. And what we've seen for Double or Nothing and All Out is also going to be kind of the norm for those 2 pay-per-views.
Tony did not confirm that pay-per-view locations would remain static, but said that Vegas and Chicago likely will. I can't imagine Chicago ever changing. Vegas maybe, but Vegas is such an easy pull for people, especially Memorial Day weekend. I can't imagine that changing either. But Chicago, I would be fucking shocked if they ever even leave the Sears Center, even though I think they should have this year.
They really should leave the Sears Center. As we went to the Sears Center and we saw all of the pain points that people brought up from All In.
It was better than All In, but
it was better, but it was still pretty bad.
Yeah. Tony says that if he was on a desert island and he could only take 2 pay-per-views, it'd be Double or Nothing and Full Gear. Okay. Interesting.
Weird.
Jericho and Guevara versus SCU for the tag team championships will air this week. This wasn't. This was confirmed by Tony, but was brought up by Jericho. The reason being that him and Guevara are undefeated, even though.
But I don't like this match.
Why? Because you hate Sammy Guevara?
I don't mind Sammy Guevara as a performer. He's a very good wrestler. He has come a long, long way since we first saw him.
For sure.
I don't like this because we know, besides the fact that we know the belts are going to stay on SCU for a while because, logic in wrestling.
Right.
This is a guaranteed loss. They're not going to put 2 titles on Jericho.
Sure.
You're not going to have him pulling double duty.
Put all the belts on Jericho.
Right, but like it's secondary like logic. Like you cannot be pulling double duty to defend 2 belts. That's just not happening. So I'm sure this will be a good match. I just don't like it for that reason.
Yeah, I'm willing to see where they're going with. They must have a reason to do it. Hangman versus Pac rematch is set for Dynamite as well.
I'm also confused by this. Why?
We will see. But it seems as though Hangman is the one who wanted it, not Pac. So.
Oh, okay, that's fair. But I felt like the match that they had at Full Gear was a very definitive ending.
Yes, but Hangman immediately went on Twitter and said something to the effect of, "I'm not satisfied."
Okay. Fair enough.
So he's not satisfied, so we're doing
Sure.
another match.
And that's fair. And it's
Right.
like, it's things like that. Is like, if when it's the performance, like, I'm not satisfied, I want to beat his ass again.
Right.
Okay, cool. Not this
Yeah, okay,
shadow.
cool. Thank you for giving me the reason. Now I know. And we can do
Not
it. It's
just
fine.
like, oh, we had this match on pay-per-view. It had a definitive ending, but we're gonna redo it on TV just cause. Like,
Right.
why?
No,
Why?
it's because his for whatever character reason he wasn't satisfied, which I think
Maybe
is
he's-
cool.
Maybe because he almost tapped out. Could be,
Maybe,
you know?
maybe
I don't know.
he didn't feel like he inflicted enough damage. I wouldn't care to speculate from a character perspective why, because I thought it was a pretty definitive ending for him. Surprisingly, I really didn't think that's how that was going to go. But
I didn't either. But he did almost tap out. So you know, we'll see.
Let's talk about Full Gear. First, it's important to know AEW ran a pre-show on YouTube with great promos from SCU and Janela and B. Priestley and more that didn't run on BR Live for some reason.
Very odd. We got the YouTube show on as a pre-show,
Yeah, it was they did the buy-in and then they did a pre-show on YouTube that was like different. It was fucking a different thing.
Oh yeah, what I'm saying is like the pre-show could have replaced the YouTube show we watched.
Yeah.
As part of the quote buy-in on BR Live.
Yeah, the buy-in that we saw was the first half of it was the countdown video that we talked about last episode, and then the second half of it was the Britt Baker versus B. Priestley match.
Yeah.
The new set that they got for Full Gear was gorgeous. I hope that they continue to do this for the quarterly paper. 4 times a year, you can build a new set.
Gonna have to because they kind of destroyed it.
But yeah, again, we got the countdown on the first half, and then the second half was Britt Baker versus B. Priestley. I tried to go back and find this match for notes, but YouTube and BR Live appeared. It appears like they aired this and then immediately threw it in the trash. Like you can't watch it now for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's odd to me as well, and we talked about this a bit in Discord last night that we're so used to this pre-show mentality from WWE having hours long pre-shows, where it's really just a 10-minute match and then 45 minutes of commentary sitting in a desk discussing every little nuanced thing.
Yeah.
I don't feel that in AEW. When they say pre-show, they mean, okay, it's pre-show, but this is the start of the card.
Yeah, it's like a catch-up and then one match. Like it's part of the show.
But even this is the first time we've had the catch-up. Most times it's here's match 1, here's match 2. We're talking about this because it's on YouTube that you need to buy the pay-per-view.
Right.
But this is really the start of the show, and you know, like there was a couple things like that happened with the scorecards that didn't end up counting because of unscheduled appearances.
Sure.
That, like, in my opinion, should have counted because this match was part of the show,
Right.
and that appearance then led to an angle which is important, opposed to Shawn Michaels showed up, so you get points.
Yeah. Britt Baker versus Bree Priestley. Couldn't find the match. That's the point I'm trying to make. And couldn't go back and watch it. And I think that's a shame because I think it's part of the show. And I would like to be able to go back and watch this part of the show. Now it feels like I'm losing the first scene, right? And that's unfortunate. Taz did join us on commentary, which was cool, but then he was gone the rest of the show, which was weird. Joined by Golden Boy and X. Britt Baker won via lockjaw. Afterward, Brandy and Kong entered. Kong has new ring gear, including a belt made of human hair.
Very creepy, but very cool. Very cool ring gear. Brandy's new outfit that it's seeming to stick with, which is a new thing for her because she's usually rotating every week. And I'm not complaining about that. I like that. Right. But she's sticking with this gimmick. I think that they're doing some weird fucking shit, but they're sticking with something. It's cool. It's pretty cool. Something, something hit the wall and stuck. I don't know where this is going or what the fuck is going to happen with this, but I'm in. Let's do it. Let's make Brandy and Kong like dark and weird, and let's go to that weird place.
They used this weird-looking knife to remove a lock of B's hair as some sort of trophy, even though they didn't beat up Brie. Fucking Britt Baker did. It's very strange.
I talked about if you remember a couple weeks ago when Britt wrestled Jamie Hayter, Brandy whipped her ass in the post match, and it seems to be people that lose to Britt are getting attacked.
Yeah, that's really weird.
Well, it is weird, but if you think about it, Britt doesn't really have any kind of a story besides this B Priestley thing, and they've resolved that. So if they're building up this long form story of Brandy actually hates Britt and all this, and there's reasons behind it, we can build up some good matches, because there's the Britt versus Kong that you can do once or twice, and then there's Brandy versus Britt, and that keeps Britt in people's mind while not being in the title picture, because you don't really want to put Britt in the title picture because they're trying to establish Riho. And you and I understand, and we see that Britt is being groomed to be the women's face of the company.
Sure.
So you need time to build that up as well. So that builds a real good storyline there that you can take for honestly a few months.
There was a really funny moment during the match where they cut to Darby Allin, who was watching from the crowd, dressed really weird and just staring at the women in the ring, and then never cut to him again for the rest of the pay-per-view.
Yeah, because he left. The spot where he was is where Rock and Roll Express was sitting.
Okay, it was really weird.
Strange.
Really weird that he was sitting watching that match and then wasn't later. I don't understand what the setup for that was.
Who knows? Well, maybe we'll find out on Wednesday.
The pre-show ended with the entrance of JR as we move to the main show.
Oh, fun fact that I learned last night on Reddit because someone was at the show. Justin Roberts has his own entrance music and title card. Did you see what it was?
No.
It's his name, and then like on the R of Roberts is a picture of him standing like the Luke Skywalker poster where, Leia's there on the side, except it's the Golden Girls. It's really fucking creepy, but it's amazing.
It's very silly. Let's move on to the main show. JR and X called most of this thing alone, even though Golden Boy was supposed to be on.
They called the whole thing alone.
Yeah, I wonder.
It was they called the entire show alone.
Didn't he say that he was supposed to do some matches on this, or?
Yeah, Golden Boy posted on Twitter this week. He was supposed to pretty much do the second half. I would say the second half of the pay-per-view when the championship matches started until the end. That ended up not happening. For whatever reason. It's one of those things we'll never know why, but it was very odd.
JD, pull up Golden Boy's Twitter because he made a tweet after the show that sounded very weird and cryptic to me. And it was weird that he was supposed to do this, and then for whatever reason, he just wasn't, with really no warning. Instead, he did a backstage segment, and then after that
He was just gone.
He was just gone. He just wasn't on the rest of the show, even though he had tweeted already, I'm supposed to do these matches or whatever. Very weird.
Let's see.
Weird. Golden Boy FTW is his.
Yeah, I follow him on Twitter. I'm just trying to find the see you all down the road.
Yeah.
Maybe his
Does that
contract
seem
wasn't
weird to you?
Well, he was signed for a contract, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they changed their mind.
That would be a shame because I thought he's done really good, but
he only really did the one event fully, and since then he hasn't really been featured that much.
Yeah, it might be a mind change on his part too. It might be, hey, I thought that I had time to do this, but my obligations to Overwatch League or whatever he does are.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, he does have a lot of obligations in the esports world, and it may be just that he thought he would have time to do it, and it may also be he thought he would be having a bigger role, and that's not ended up being the case. It's not, like I said, that's something that happens behind closed doors. We will never actually know what the deal is.
Yeah, very. I noticed that on the show. I finished his song. I was like, huh, Golden, he never showed up like he was supposed to. That's very strange. I hope everything is all right because I really have enjoyed him on commentary, but we shall see. Proud and Powerful versus the Young Bucks was the first match on the main card.
Maybe it's because he didn't choke anybody out on at the restaurant.
I said we weren't going to talk about it. Okay.
Hey, you didn't say we weren't going to talk about it.
Yeah, I guess that's a piece of news that we could explore at some, although not really news. Did you watch the post-show scrum?
No, I went to bed.
Okay.
When you texted me earlier, I had just woken up and you was like, okay,
Yeah.
give me an hour. I need to wake up.
So somebody asked Tony about it. Okay, so for those that don't know, Jimmy Havoc and Excalibur supposedly got into a fist fight at the seafood restaurant.
Okay, so
a fist
before you
fight-
go there. So Golden Boy on November 3rd posted on Twitter, he will be commentating coming back to call the action, and I cannot wait, and listed 3 matches. Cody versus Jericho, Moxley versus Omega, Young Bucks versus Proud and Powerful. I took that as, okay, Golden Boy's going to be calling these matches. Looking at the timeline, that could have been the only thing had been announced at the time.
Sure, and maybe he was only ever supposed to do that one match. But if that's the case, that's weird because they've always done a 3-man team and they did a 2-man team most of the show. Maybe they were just trying it out, but
they've done a 2-man team. Double or Nothing had a 2-man team
okay.
because it was just we didn't have a third person. It was just JR and Excalibur.
Okay.
There wasn't anyone available because Tony Schiavone was not signed at the time. For anyone wondering, Tony Schiavone was calling the UGA game last night, which is his much, much higher paying obligation.
So Jimmy Havoc and Excalibur supposedly got into
An altercation,
quote unquote fist fight
allegedly.
at
Even
the
though there's
seafood-
video.
No, this shit happened at a seafood restaurant for Tony Schiavone's. It was like a Tony Schiavone birthday thing, right?
Part of Starcast.
The fist fight consisted of Jimmy Havoc throwing a punch, Excalibur dodging a punch, and then immediately choking out Jimmy Havoc. Jimmy Havoc then later came to after being knocked out from having been choked out and threw another punch, this time actually connecting with Excalibur. And that's about all it took before security dragged him out of the place. And he apparently took his phone, threw it at Excalibur, and it hit a wall and shattered into 5 pieces. So.
And then while they're outside and Excalibur came to talk to him to smooth the situation over, Jimmy Havoc got pissed off again. I think that's when the phone throwing happened.
Throne throwing, yes. Supposedly this has all been smoothed over now. They're cool. Everything's cool. Somebody asked Tony about this at Media Scrums. Said, hey, can you tell us anything about the fist fight that happened between Excalibur and Jimmy Havoc? Will it affect Excalibur's win-loss record?
I love that that's how they worded it. That's
right.
amazing.
And Tony giggled and said, well, I wouldn't call it much of a fight, to be honest. And people forget
so much shade.
Excalibur used to be a wrestler. But the other thing that people forget is that Tony ran people would assume like, oh, 2 professionals got in a fist fight. They must be, Jimmy Havoc must be close to getting fired or whatever. This man's coming out of football locker rooms, dog. Like, yeah, athlete. He's seen some athletes.
This is
throw
probably
hands at each other.
This is probably some of the lightest shit that Tony's seen coming
Yeah.
out of a locker room.
Yeah.
I've been in football locker rooms, and granted, this was high school. This is not on the level of professional where egos are miles larger.
Right.
Couple dudes, one guy getting pissed drunk and starting a fight. Probably the calmest thing that Tony's seen in the past, I don't know, 2 years.
Now, it's not something you condone, right? But it's also
right. But it's not something like gonna get fired. Like if this happened in the other company, yeah, someone would probably be getting fired.
Not
because
even though those you hear about backstage scuffles happening all the time. People don't get fucking fired, But
not between Not between two talents, yes. Not between talent and commentary.
Sure, that's a little fucking weird.
It's funny though.
It's also funny that the commentator apparently beat
Whipped
his
that ass. So I will say this. Doesn't count as much. Jimmy Havoc was, according to many reports, piss drunk.
Sure.
So, but still fucking hilarious.
Well, you got to be pretty pissed drunk to throw hands at a motherfucker in a seafood restaurant. So, that's pretty wild. Rick Knox was the referee for this first match. Rock and Roll Express were at ringside. I'm mentioning it because it becomes important later. Santana and Ortiz do the match in Yankee pinstripe overall type things that they had, which look cool. It's a harder hitting, grittier match than we're used to.
It was
with the Bucks.
really, really good, dude.
A much, like, people who are like, the Bucks have the same match every time. Watch this match because it was a much different affair from Lucha Bros or Private Party or any of the other matches that they've had recently. Ortiz showed that he's fucking insane in all the best ways. He's super entertaining.
That motherfucker's on bath salts, dude.
He's nuts. There's a camel clutch gory special double team that Proud and Powerful do to the Bucks that I thought was wild. From there, Santana and Ortiz continued to work on Nick's left
shin, not knee.
Right knee. No, on his right knee. On Nick's right knee.
I thought it was the shin because he fucking Muay Thai kicked the goalpost.
Oh, okay, shin. Yeah, lower leg, whatever. That sort of area ultimately made him collapse when he was going for the Meltzer driver. Ortiz pins Nick off of a street sweeper, which, that was the end of the match. I thought the match was really just a different kind of style for them. They played a different way, and this is, of course, a dream match for a lot of people because these guys have been kind of separated on the indie scene to a great extent, and to finally see them on AEW was really cool, and I hope that they have more matches.
I do. I'm hoping that there's a rematch that is announced soon because, like you said, this was an amazing match. I really, really enjoyed every bit of it. Yeah. Funny thing about this, as we're in Discord, when Rock and Roll Express popped up, that's when I started bitching about my dad because for whatever reason he called it that the Rock and Roll Express was going to be there. And when he told me this, I was like, "You're full of shit, old man."
Well, I mean, they've been on the TV show, right? So...
One time, man. But yeah, it was really cool. I enjoyed that, and then throughout the match, Ortiz and Santana kept going over there and fucking with them. And like I posted in Discord, like, "Yo, don't fuck with that old man. I've seen him throw Canadian destroyers. Do not fuck with him."
Proud and Powerful celebrate after the match as Guevara comes down to vlog them beating down the Bucks with a sock full of baseballs.
That's fucked up.
The Rock and Roll Express then make the save. Ricky Morton hits Santana with a springboard Canadian destroyer, which, despite the fact that it was really sloppy, was fucking amazing. It ends with a celebration in the ring from Young Bucks and Rock and Roll Express. Awesome, exciting opening match. The perfect choice. And I really enjoyed it.
It's real good stuff, and it pushes our angles along while not ending the angles because, like, very clearly we're gonna have a rematch of this.
Yeah.
Probably, I'm hoping like you are that like we're gonna have like a War Games type match down the road, but Young Bucks versus Proud and Powerful will happen again, and it will be just as good. The one of the things that stuck out to me is how well they sold things and paying attention to the things that they were selling. Like Nick, that leg thing that stuck around throughout that whole match, and also later in the evening when they came out for the unsanctioned match, he was still limping along. Now, whether real life, I fucked my leg up because I Muay Thai kicked a ring post, which is, as Excalibur said on commentary, a squared ring post, not a circle. So this actually, you're kicking a point, a corner.
Right.
It's things that little things like that need to happen. Like you need to sell that you are injured, and not just you forgot about it 2 minutes later because you had to throw this move that he couldn't throw the Meltzer driver, and that ended up causing them to lose. That's an important thing.
Well, it's brought up a lot. The Cody match is all about that as well, about doing sort of classic wrestling psychology stuff. Hangman Adam Page versus the Bastard Pac. Bryce Remsburg was the referee for this match. The match was, like most of Hangman's matches, a slower pace, but it was also very, very stiff and violent.
I think being a slower pace, because that's how Hangman works, but this also suited Pac very, very well.
Yeah.
Because he's able to make his moves look that much more painful.
Hangman and Pac really sold the animosity between the two of them. Like, you really believe they were fucking mad at each other, and they threw each other against the guardrails really fucking hard.
Yeah, those kicks later towards like the middle or end of the match, where Hangman was just like on his knees taking kicks. Like Pac wasn't holding back. Those were straight kicks. He was not pulling them at all. Like, he was kicking the living shit out of him, man.
Hangman was able to outlast several brutalizers. He dodged a black arrow and then caught an attempted low blow from Pac, and then hit Deadeye for the win. I thought it was a great match. I thought it was really what stuck out to me was how hard they were hitting on everything. Other than that, for them, I felt like it was a fairly short match for what they were doing. But then again, we're talking about, we did these first two matches and we were an hour into the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So, like, everybody got a lot of time, which was nice. Shawn Spears versus Joey Janela. As we were talking about before, Shawn Spears versus Joey Janela was initially supposed to be a pre-show match. Assumedly, this is what they would have moved in favor of Britt Baker and B. Priestley. That being said, Earl Hebner is the referee. I thought this match was okay. Spears' lack of hook as a character makes it kind of just boring to watch any of his matches. But Janela bumps his fucking ass off for him. And Tully worked great as a heel manager. My favorite part was when Spears tied up Janela's hair in the tag rope. He had to like
that was
pull
fucked
himself,
up, dude.
He had to like pull himself free, which was gruesome.
So, thought on that though is like, if you had done this match as the buy-in, you could not have done that spot.
Why?
You wouldn't have had the tag ropes there.
I mean, you could have had the tag ropes out. It wouldn't have been a problem.
I mean, just like the normal, I understand, like the normal thing is like when a tag team match is going to happen, the ref walks around and ties the tag ropes.
Yeah, but if a tag team match isn't going to happen, they're supposed to put them back. So either way, like, they're supposed to be back. They just aren't in this case. Although the tag rope can be pulled out of the little container that they have for it pretty easily. So
that's fair.
Janela has to just like yank his hair free from that, which I thought was really dastardly. Spears distracted Hebner by removing a turnbuckle pad and then rushed out to hit a double team pile driver on the floor on Janela with Tully's assistance, and then ran in the ring and hit Janela with a C4 for the win. I thought it was fine, but kind of the low light of the card for me. After that, Kip Sabian cut a mostly awkward promo where he introduced that he and Penelope will be forming a faction called the Super Bad Squad.
I think that's also going to be with the Hybrid too.
I imagine. I think it's a name that they'll totally be able to live up to if they do nothing at all.
Yeah. Hey, stop that.
I'm just saying Super Bad Squad is a terrible name for your squad.
Yeah, so is the Hybrid too.
Hey, dude, how bad is your squad? Super bad.
So,
she of course dropped the line, "Why be bad when you can be super bad?" Of course, kind of a reference to the bad boy Joey Janela, which is tough stuff, man.
Yeah. So I've been scrolling through Reddit and I found Meltzer's thoughts on the pay-per-view, and he has one specifically on that. The Kip Sabian Joey Janela feud, the tease that they did is legit based off the real life events, because Penelope Ford didn't just dump Joey. She dumped Joey to date Kip. So that's fucked up.
Yeah.
And that's going to be some good shit right there. Reading through the rest of this, it's typical I'm an old man, I like wrestling my way kind of shit. He did not like the Omega match.
Oh, cool guy. SCU versus...
It's like, whatever, grow up, dude.
SCU versus Private Party versus Lucha Brothers. Rick Knox is back to ref this match. I thought this match was good. Not a classic, not a mess. A bit of fun chaos. Kazarian pinned Quen off of an SCU later to retain the titles.
I will say I did not like this match.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. After the match, Lucha Brothers attacked SCU out of frustration. Penta went to package piledriver Kazarian on a chair. Lights went out. Lights come back up, and Penta is staring into the eyes of a slightly thinner doppelganger. Fake Penta dispatches real Penta and Phoenix, then removes his mask to reveal that he is none other than Christopher Daniels. Daniels is game to keep throwing hands, but the Luchas retreat. And that's the end of the segment. I thought that thing was kind of cool, even though it kind of mirrored the Jericho thing, and it's weird. It did,
but sort of, but not really. You know, the Jericho thing was he was attacking Kenny, so they had Penta roll out of the ring quickly.
Right.
This was an actual, haha, there's another Pentagon in the ring. What the fuck? And the way they did it, you didn't really know until CD pulled the mask off, like who it was. It could have been anyone.
Yeah, it could. I really didn't know who it was. I think it is kind of weird to be like, haha, I snuck into the locker room and put your clothes on my body. But you know,
it also is
also he turned the lights off when he came in. So why would he need to be dressed up as Penta other than?
I think it was to have that moment of confusion and be like, well, who is this? This could be anyone. Like, my first thought when I saw it, I was like, oh, it could be like Marty Skrull or something, or a new person coming into the company. That was my thought.
Right.
So I'm not mad at it. I thought it was pretty cool. Kind of pokes a hole in Penta's thing where he's selling masks that, oh yeah, he makes like a shit ton of this one mask and sells them.
If you're going to steal somebody's clothes, fuck their girlfriend. You know what I mean? And then be like, ha, I tricked your girlfriend. I don't know. I don't understand.
I don't know. Well, Pentagon is a man of mystery. We don't even know if he has a girlfriend.
Sure.
He probably has many girlfriends because
right.
he's as we are to understand, a Mexican god.
Right.
So no, that doesn't work out at all. Otherwise, the second part of that is like, no, you don't do that. He will snap your goddamn arms off.
Okay.
And then break light tubes over your face.
Okay, sure. Better idea. If you're gonna steal their clothes and look just like them, go take out a loan. You know?
There you go. Yeah, that's what you do.
Never pay it back.
Just have the face paint and the mask. You're wearing a suit too.
Immediately reveal who you are and then beat them up. That's lame.
No, keep the mask on. Run away. Do shit. Do interviews. Make him look like a fucking tool bag.
Commit a crime.
Yeah.
That you've always wanted to commit, you know, and then as you're running away, be like, "Oh, it's me, Pentagon," right?
I don't know if I go that far, but you know, they could have done like interviews where he's like, "Yeah, I hate my brother. He's a piece of shit. I'm a piece of shit too, by the way."
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Overall, I wasn't enjoying this match. These three teams are way too dynamic and fast paced to do a triple threat match like this.
Yeah, it was noisy. It was noisy for a long time, you know?
Yeah, and the other thing I read a little bit this morning is they may have said it in one of the scrums last night, but Christopher Daniels is going to be a singles. They're not doing the Freebird rule.
Yeah, I guess that he's going to pursue singles, which is good, but it appears like he has a feud with Penta, so maybe him and Penta are going to break off and do singles for a minute. Or
I would like that match. That'd be a good match.
I mean, you've got so many people in the tag division; they don't need to tag all the time. Like,
no, I'm just happy that they're not doing the Freebird rule because I feel like that's overused.
Yeah.
I kind of had that feeling when they were pulling out the tag team titles and putting the plates on. And if you looked at the plates, they were putting names on them. Not that it said SCU, it said Scorpio Sky. So that kind of told me there's no Freebird rule. So yeah. I'm good with this. I think, please don't. It's overused.
Riho versus Emi Sakura. Bryce Remsburg is in the stripes for this title match. The crowd fucking loved this match. I thought it was okay. But it's been
one of the best women's matches we've seen.
I agree. And one of Riho's more physically impressive matches. Now, granted, she's also worked with this woman 33 times, and it should be.
Way more than that. That's just the singles matches that they had, but yeah.
There was such little build up and heat to this match for me that I started pretty down on it, vocally pretty down on it. But it turned out pretty strong, I think. Riho did a Tree of Woe foot stomp on the apron that was devastating. Sakura continued to do the "We Will Rock You" and AO stuff, and it still doesn't work for me. It did slightly better this time with the crowd, but still she had a pickup rate of maybe like 10-20%. Still
it's
not
just
working great.
becoming way, it's like way more stressed and painful.
Yeah, commentary was trying to push a will student finally surpass teacher thing during the match, but these two have fought each other a bunch of times in a bunch of different promotions and have a pretty even win-loss record against each other, so it's kind of hard to take if you understand who they are. The finish was a cool little chain wrestling sequence that I thought was really exciting and really fast, probably because they've done it a lot. They finished the match sort of amicably. Riho ended up pinning Emi Sakura, retaining the championship, and then there was, like a handshake and a hand raise and stuff like that. It seemed like kind of an exhibition match for the champion. At no point did I think
it was
right. At no point did I think they were going to change the title to Asian Freddie Mercury woman, who was the teacher character of the person they've been pushing for the last 6 months.
If this match had been how you and I both thought it was going to be, where it was going to be Riho versus Shida,
right? Then
I would have been like,
either
"Ooh,
way.
this could go either way." Yeah,
Right, but they didn't. So I never thought this match was going to be anything but what it was, and then it was that. And I thought it was good, and there were moments in it, like the double foot stomp. I was like, oh man, ow, yeah, okay, girls. And the finish I thought was really cool, but I was like, okay. That I don't know why I needed to see that, because I knew what the ending was going to be, and then it was. But it was fine. Cody Rhodes versus Chris Jericho. Now let's talk about this match. Did not go the 60 minutes to the Broadway.
No one knew. I mean, people thought it was, but it was also like, no, it's not
no
fucking
way.
way. Jericho's too fucking old to go 60 goddamn minutes. It's not gonna happen.
Aubrey Edwards wore the black and white for this match. Dean Malenko, Arn Anderson, and the Great Muta were the judges at ringside, which I thought was really cool. Jericho has his own custom weight belt. Apparently, according to Jericho at Media Scrums, the first match that Jericho and Malenko had in WCW against each other was in Royal Farms Arena, where this show took place.
It was. So I remember watching that.
So
it wasn't like anywhere on this kind of a grand stage. It was kind of a squash match, but that was a.
So when he went over and started shit with Dean Malenko during the match, it was sort of like a hey, like remember the first time that we fought here, right?
Yeah, except Dean Malenko does like he always does and has done for like 30 years. He has no emotions, people. So it looks like he just no-sells everything. He was probably like he should have been fuming mad, but no, he's just like, what? You want something? What?
The big story here is, of course, the ending. And we'll get there. First, I thought this match was really spectacular. Cody and Chris both have enough in common background-wise that they slid right together real easy style, from a style perspective. Cody has a game plan: neutralize the right arm of Jericho in an effort to slow down or eliminate the Judas effect. And Jericho and the world's greatest wrestler, Jake Hager, as we all know, was in his corner. Cody had MJF.
I think you mean the world's greatest cardboard standout.
Cody had MJF in his corner. Jericho actually went to ringside and started some shit with Dean again. That made me wish it was 20 years ago, which I just thought it was great. Sometime after this, Cody went for a tope suicida onto Jericho on the ramp. Missed, landed on his fucking forehead, which left a nasty frown-shaped gash above his right eyebrow. That's the only way you get a gash that nasty is if you get it from like sliding on something with your fucking face.
Yes. Okay. So for people in Discord, it's like, oh yeah, he bladed. No. That was not a blade job.
If you're bladed, going to, he used the fucking dullest blade in the world, and he did a terrible job.
So that type of cut that he had, That's like a typical MMA cut from someone's elbow sliding across your forehead.
Yeah. And the reason why you get the cut is you literally pull the skin to the point where it breaks. And that's the type of contusion that you get when you slide across the floor with weight on your face.
So there's that aspect of it. The other side of it is like, if you saw the shape of the cut, like looking like a frowny face, you're not going to blade like that. You're not going to go up and down on your face because you have to do this quickly. So you're going to go in a straight line real quick. You're not going to make a design out of your forehead.
Like a jack-o'-lantern.
Yeah. So that's the second point. The third point is when you're blading, you want to do it near your hairline up at the top of your forehead.
Well, especially him. That's why he has that blonde hair.
Well, no, anybody who's blading, you want to do it up there.
Well, yeah.
It becomes less noticeable, but it's also the blood veins and everything is so thin right there that as your heart beats, your face just pours the blood out. Where he cut, it's one of those spots where if you cut your finger, it'll stop bleeding in a few minutes because your body will heal quickly because, oh, this is bad.
Right.
Which is what happened. There was no intent to bleed in this match. It just kind of happened because Cody landed on his fucking face.
Yeah, the time you see stuff near the eye like that is when people either intentionally or unintentionally hard way. And the reason with that is because it's pretty easy to break open hard way style. But the way that he did it, it was pretty. To call it a cut is even kind of wrong. It's more of a tear, more of a skin tear above his eye. Immediately started bleeding. The doctor, Dr. Sampson, came over. They paused the match so he could work some magic. I don't know if he put clotting powder or Vaseline or whatever on it.
I'm sure he probably threw some. Vaseline won't actually keep you from It won't stop you from bleeding.
Okay.
The Vaseline on the faces for like boxers and stuff, that's to keep the skin from tearing like that.
Right.
It's probably, if he did put Vaseline on there, it was to keep it from getting worse. He may have hit it with a little bit of super glue because that kind of a cut where that is, you can't do stitches there.
Yeah.
But yeah, this whole little instance and the way Jericho did it was so good because he pulled the chair out and sat down in the middle of the ring. He's like, okay, finish your shit, you little wuss.
Cody then returned to action with sort of minimal bleeding despite how big and nasty the gash was. But like you said, that kind of area, it bled a little bit at first and then it was kind of like, oh, we're cool. Now Jericho's strategy, I love that though, this clearly wasn't intended to happen, but his strategy shifted immediately. And
oh yeah.
He started doing a lot of head moves, trying to get a doctor stoppage. And he begins to cheat more too, distracting Aubrey so that Hager can sort of put work into Cody, right? And MJF yells at Aubrey. MJF was so great during this match. He's like, turn around, Aubrey, turn around.
Well, I loved it, dude. MJF throughout the entire match was gold.
Man, after some back and forth, Jericho went to ringside and got into it with Cody's mom. Cody's mom yelled "fuck you" in Jericho's face and slapped him.
Twice.
Awesome.
Twice.
Yeah. As Cody attacked Jericho and paused for just a moment to hug his mom before returning to work in the ring. Cody goes for a disaster kick. Jericho catches it with a code breaker, and that's sort of the last turn of the match. From here, Jericho is in control, whipping Cody with his weight belt before rolling him into a lion tamer. Cody reaches the rope and the hold is broken. Now there's no he did end up having to break the hold here, but there's no stopping him at this point. He gets the thing broken. Jericho gets into it briefly with Aubrey, which gives Cody, he does a roll-up pin, but it doesn't work. Jericho's able to kick out.
That was a close one though.
It was close. It was close,
but
it wasn't going to happen. Puts Cody back in the lion tamer, and I like that this sort of repeated the same submission over and over again until it worked. Jericho stomping on Cody's head as he wrenches on the lion tamer.
Trying to get him to bleed more.
And it doesn't look good. Cody is despondent and unresponsive, you know. MJF calls out to Cody 4, maybe 5 times, and there's no response as the heels of Cody's boots inch closer and closer to the back of his head, really just twisted up. Jericho, even in the scrum, said, hey, make no mistake, throw in the towel, don't throw in the towel. There was no fucking way he was getting out of that lion tamer. So
No.
Don't anybody pay attention to that.
So what was interesting to me is like when MJF ducked down.
Right.
See, I didn't think he was going to grab a towel.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was going to do like that. You probably remember this a lot from early WWE. The corner man would, pop down in the ring and grab something out from under, and then throw or slide like brass knuckles across.
Right.
So I thought it was gonna be something like that. It's like, okay, he's getting something, and then he's gonna distract Aubrey so that Cody can get out of it.
Right.
That's what I thought was gonna happen. But the way it ended up happening was it was so executed so perfectly that you could not have done this anywhere else. And for the record, for anybody, especially with our friends, things I wanted to say to some of our friends last night is like, if you think this is a WWE finish, you need to start fucking watching WWE. They've never done a towel thrown in finish.
Oh my God. We're going to talk about all the implications here. Just then, as Cody's all twisted up, a flash of white light, MJF has thrown in the towel. The match is over. Cody will never again challenge for the AEW World Championship. Jericho and the Inner Circle pop a little bit of the bubbly up on the ramp as MJF begins to understand the weight of the decision that he's just made. Cody comes to and knows that he didn't give up. MJF has to explain it to him, and Cody can't believe it. MJF is in tears on his knees, apologizing, praying, and he really sold it. I was sitting there, hands over my mouth in disbelief, nearly on the verge of tears myself, just like, oh my God, this moment that happened. And for a moment, it seems as though Cody may be the one to do something rash here, which I love.
I thought I kept waiting for Cody to throw a crossroads onto MJF. I was like, it's gonna happen. He's gonna fuck him up.
I thought that was gonna happen, and then I was like, oh my God, that's so genius. Double turn, MJF like called the match out of concern for his friend, and Cody is so like heartbroken by the loss of this stipulation that he didn't need to put on it, that he snaps and he attacks his friend. And then now you have MJF as sympathetic and Cody as kind of the fucking asshole, right? So it seems like that's where it's gonna go. And it's all sold by MJF, who is, you legitimately believe that he didn't feel like he had a choice, but he's now realizing that he made a mistake, and Cody forgives MJF. He's like, okay, it's okay, because he understands, and that's when MJF kicks him in the balls.
So one of the things that Meltzer said in his feedback about the pay-per-view, I did fully agree with. Mm-hmm. He said this was executed perfectly. Mm-hmm. The ending of all this, agreed, 100%.
Yeah.
Cody was the one who's wanted this feud with MJF for a while now, and makes perfect sense.
Right.
You can tell these guys have wanted to work together for a while. Mm-hmm. It's some of the implications of this are wonky, and I do agree that there's going to be some weird stuff, and we're probably going to talk about that in a few minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, this whole thing was so perfectly done that you couldn't do this without doing it exactly this way. It wouldn't have come off as good and as genuine as it did.
It was, man, there's so much here, and I want to pause here to kind of talk about the implications of it, because people this was criticized for being a WWE finish, I guess because it wasn't clear and concise, someone winning by pinfall or whatever. But the reason why I see this and go not a WWE finish is because the WWE finish sucks because people do things that don't make sense, because they have no motivation to do something, they just did it just cuz. That's the shit in WWE where I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Who's writing this fucking show? This was not that. MJF had legitimate reasons to do this that were so smart. Here's MJ. Now, there are deeper things that we can only speculate, and there are things that we know. We know that MJF sat on the sideline and said, "Here, if Cody falls now, he can never challenge for the championship again, which means if I go for the championship, which he's going to,
presumably soon,
because he's a professional wrestler in the company, a singles wrestler, and that's his way to the top.
And he also has a good record.
He's now permanently stricken a legitimate player and threat from the rankings. He's literally permanently taken Cody out of the rankings. He never has to fight him to get the title, right? So, of course, he's going to take that shot. Now, it's a little weird that he did it at a time when Cody probably would have fallen to Jericho anyway, but that's where the sort of inferring thing comes from, where you can be like, I guess in this situation, he wanted to be the one who took it away from Cody. And you can kind of get that from what happens after, because he laughs, he throws Cody to the ground, he screams in his face, "My turn, you selfish prick, my turn." I
think it is. He's the one who wanted to take all of this away from him.
Right.
And because that it builds so much more heat this way.
Right. So I am sitting here going like, I don't understand how you could see this as a WWE fan. I guess I do if you don't know the story enough and you haven't been paying attention. But otherwise, I'm sitting here going, oh man, there are so many motivations and reasons for this character to do that, and that's what made it beautiful to me, is that he did it. There was a reason behind it, and it felt like something like, okay, I know why he did that. I think it's fucked up, but I know why he did it.
But it's that, and it's also like, we've known this MJF turn was coming.
Yeah.
And they've teased it, and like we got to the point now where it's like, okay, they're fucking with us. He's not gonna turn on Cody,
right,
especially after the past few weeks on Dynamite. It's like, okay, it's not gonna happen. And then they do it like this in a way where it's like, you've upped the stakes to such a high level that you don't see it coming. And then when you do see it coming, like you're angry. You're so angry. Like I love MJF. And I was like, dude, you fucking dick. Why? And that's the best way to do it. Cause that's the real heat. That's a true heel.
Bro, real heat. Don't even get me started. MJF walks up the ramp. He's winking. He's smiling. He pauses to look back at Cody, and a fan throws a full cup of beer at him.
There was a full beer. I think there was a hot dog thrown too.
Soaking him. And oh my God, that's what real fucking heat looks like. And MJF knows this. He just looks into the camera, smiles, and laughs and exits, knowing that he just fucking won, dude. It was a saga, man. I story-wise from a wrestling match, I was emotionally moved in 4 or 5 different directions by this thing, man. I thought it was
I agree, man. It was a phenomenal match. Everything to do with it was perfect, especially the ending. Mm-hmm. So to me, like, if you're saying that, oh, this was a WWE finish, the way this is just, I thought you guys were going to be different, blah, blah, blah. Okay. You were just waiting for the first reason to say that.
Yeah.
And I feel like that, especially the friends of ours who did say that last night, is like, okay, fuck you. You're such a WWE mark that you've been waiting for the moment to prove everyone wrong. It's like, oh yeah, WWE's better. Like, go fuck yourself. I'm sorry. Yeah. But this was so well done. Now, I will say the part of the implications out of this where it's going to get real WWE is because of the stipulation.
How so?
Because the only way to really get out of this stipulation is to pull some wonky shit where it's going to feel WWE and not, because there's no real good way. You know what I mean?
That's only if they ever want to get out of the stipulation.
That's true. And they may never want to, but that's the thing. Like, if they want to get out of the stipulation, they're going to have to do some wonky shit. They may never.
And they may never, but I can think of a handful of different ways that you could get it in there that I don't think are that bad. I mean, the most notable one would be a champion wanting to fight Cody and wanting something from Cody and putting the title on the line for it. You know what I mean? Or whatever, right? Like, it's not.
Or just get to the point where it's a title versus career kind of thing. It's like, I don't give a shit about your stipulation.
Right.
if you're never going to challenge for it again, then just fucking quit.
Right.
That kind of a thing.
That sort of thing.
But like either way, I don't. To be honest with you, taking Cody out of the title picture, even if it's just temporarily until they just go down the storyline of how they're going to change it, is a good thing.
Yeah.
It builds more storylines for Cody of other competitors, like with MJF, dude. This feud with MJF is gonna be money, and it could last for a year, and no one's gonna be upset about it.
Yeah, dude. I mean, he's basically taken Cody's career away from him.
Yeah. Like the one of the other thing Meltzer says is MJF is like the modern day Roddy Piper with how he did this, and it's like it's a good allegory and analogy, not the greatest one, but it's like, yeah, I can see that.
Sure.
Enough with the old man, because he hated this next match. And grow up.
I loved every turn of it, man. I thought it was so wonderful.
I can't wait till Wednesday, dude.
Yeah. Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley, lights out match. This match was unsanctioned, so I will not hold a referee responsible for what transpired, but it was Paul Turner.
Which was ironic because he's the one who got fucked up by Moxley earlier this week.
Yeah. This match was absolutely outrageous. Now, the backlash that I've seen is unfortunate proof of what I had said a few months back, that people think that they want a more violent product, but they don't really know what that is. It may surprise you, and people at home may call me crazy, but this match really isn't that crazy compared to matches on an actual deathmatch promotion. I mean, I could name more than 5 Lucha Underground matches that were this violent or more. It was
could
awesome.
Probably name like 30 ECW or CZW matches that were.
Don't even get. I mean, like WWE's done some matches that were kind of more gruesome than this. Didn't have as many toys, but were more gruesome than this. It was awesome. It was violent, but it wasn't gruesome. It had about as much blood as the match before it, and nowhere near as much blood as even Cody and Dustin had at Double or Nothing. Right? Like,
even though that was an accident, but yeah.
Yeah. If I'm being honest, the lack of blood actually ended up showing the strings on some of the spots a little bit more than I would have liked.
It did, especially with the glass. The glass, you should have had a lot of tiny cuts on your back from those glass spots.
Even on so the glass was sugar glass. There's no way that it was. Even if someone came out and they were like, it's not sugar glass, it was. The way that it looked was sugar glass. The way that it turned into powder on the mat was sugar glass. Usually in a match like this, or at least in other promotions, they would use tempered glass. And the reason you do tempered glass is because it still hurts, it still cuts, but it's not going to fucking slice you open in a really serious way. They didn't. They used sugar glass here, and you can tell because they get dropped on the glass, they crawl through the glass, and they get a little cut up.
It just turns into powder.
They get a little cut up. They don't get really cut up.
No, not as bad as they should have from those spots. The barbed wire ones, the barbed wire ones were fine. That's
sure.
That makes sense. Like if you fuck with barbed wire, you're not really going to get too cut up. It just hurts a lot.
Yeah, it's not razor wire, right? It's not going to cut you open, but it's going to hurt. It's going to draw a little bit of blood, and I don't think all of the barbed wire was, let's say, at its most lethal. I think some of it was snipped a little bit, but
especially on that spot that they did later, it had to be because let's be honest, if you got dropped into that like trampoline of barbed wire like that and it was all legit, someone could have easily died.
Well,
and that's
no, they do that shit all the time. I don't think they would have died, but usually when they get dropped in something like that, they have to be cut out of it because barbed wire will grab your shit. It'll grab your clothes. It'll grab your hair. Kenny especially would have needed more help than he ended up needing. They got out of it.
Moxley, they would have had to cut him out.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, there was some. I agree.
But all in all, I loved it. It was a truly violent death match, and that's what they look like. And I applaud the creativity of Mox and Kenny and the guts of AEW to put it on pay-per-view. But I don't, for the spots they were doing, I don't think that there was enough blood, and I think it was to the detriment of the match. And I understand people are going like, what? It was wild and crazy, but like some of the stuff they were doing, I was sitting there going, if this was in any way what they're trying to say it is, there would be a lot more blood here. And I'm not like like a blood. Certainly, I have more of a bloodlust than like my brother, who wouldn't even watch the match, even though there was hardly any blood in it. But the lack of blood for me was like, okay, and it ended up feeling like a more gutsy version of what WWE thinks Extreme Rules is, right?
Yeah. And like the part like towards the end on the ramp with the screwdriver is like, okay, you should have had a full red face.
Right.
If you're carving someone's fucking head with a screwdriver.
Yeah, instead he drags a screwdriver across the guy's face and
nothing happens.
Right.
But like if I'm watching a death match, like yeah, I don't have that. I'm not a super bloodlust guy, but yeah, by the end of the match, at some point, both guys should have crimson masks.
Right.
That's just like a fucking minimum if you're doing a death match.
Well, if you're gonna be dragging screwdrivers across people's faces,
if you're gonna be if you're gonna be doing that, if you're gonna be playing with barbed wire, if you're gonna be playing with quote glass, you know, there should be blood pouring off your face. A little bit with Moxley, but not to the extent like of a death match.
Sure. And that was perhaps my biggest issue with it. And it wasn't a death match, it was unsanctioned or whatever, but some of the spots they were doing was like, okay, if you're going to do this, then there should probably be more color here than there is. Moxley entering through the crowd was fucking awesome, though. There were a few minutes of intense but decidedly normal wrestling at the outset before Moxley rolled outside and said, "It's time for some fucking garbage wrestling," into the camera, which was great. Out come the toys. You know, from here, it was all hardcore stuff. There's a brief scuffle over a trash can, a pile driver onto a trash can that was kind of weak, but it was cool. Pushed the fight out into the crowd where Omega started attacking Mox with people's beers and a trash can.
Dude, the funniest part is when they were coming back through and the dude was holding a full Bud Light and he was just holding out, here you go, take it, please take it, because he had his phone, he was ready. That was so funny, dude. I loved that.
Yeah.
And then JR was like, hey, you guys should get that man another beer. That was a full one.
Here comes the barbed wire bat, the significance of which shouldn't go unnoticed here. The barbed wire bat played a significant role in Moxley, then Dean Ambrose's feud with Brock Lesnar. There, in a build to a hardcore match at WrestleMania, a barbed wire bat was given to him by hardcore legend Mick Foley. When it came to the day, Brock and The Office didn't want to do any actual hardcore spots and ended up using the bat as like a Chekhov's gun type thing. The match was critically panned for being soft, and Moxley cites that as a particularly frustrating creative moment that made him consider leaving WWE pretty heavily. Here we are.
It should have, because Brock pussied out.
Yo, I watched the match. I was hyped for that match. It sucked. I was so disappointed. Here we are, same man, barbed wire, baseball bat, but this time he's free to do what he wants. This time he's unsanctioned. And there's no Chekhov's gun here. Mox makes repeated creative use of the barbed wire baseball bat.
The one part at the end where like Kenny had him like in some kind of a hold, and he just used the bat and scraped off Kenny's arm. Was like, oh, man, that's good, man. That's a good point.
Moxley escapes, then manages to prove that he Omega escapes, proves that he can be just as sadistic with his broom, and then next, Kenny puts a large piece of plywood covered in mouse traps from beneath the ring.
I think we did prove that the broom is the more sadistic weapon than the bat. Did a lot more damage to that fucking broom than that bat did.
Sure. But it's Kenny himself who ends up taking a suplex onto the mouse traps, and the mouse traps kind of silly because you know that they don't really work that way.
It's still, it hurts, but it's not.
Sure, it would kind of hurt, but like if you ball up your fists, you really don't have to worry about much other than like the shape of the trap digging into your back, right?
Right.
Like,
it wouldn't be like as if Moxley took Kenny's hand and slammed his hand on like 3 of those mouse traps.
Right. But
where it would grab his fingers. Yeah, that's.
But without further examination, it seems like it hurts. Right?
I mean,
it's kind of the point.
It does hurt.
Right. In retaliation, Mox pulls out a box of chains, which he drops.
As you do.
He drops Kenny on. He uses them for a jaw choke. There's a badass moment where Mox slaps, just quickly drops him in a rear naked choke, and Kenny starts repeatedly slamming Mox in the head with a trash can lid to get out of it, which I thought was really cool. And I would have loved if this match, they beat the hell out of each other and this match ends with him just choking him out. It would have been rough. In retaliation, Mox goes for a screwdriver. He tries to murder Kenny with a screwdriver, ends up
Legit murder though. Like, this is not like, oh, I'm gonna stab him. Like, no, I'm going for the eyeball. I'm gonna kill him.
Right. Buries it in the turnbuckle pad instead, which I thought was a really cool visual. Kenny comes back with some Snapdragon suplexes, wraps the chain around Moxley's neck, and throws him over the rope outside. Now, this spot would have been much better if it was executed a little better. But
That was still pretty brutal, but
it was
yeah.
still, once he got it locked in and he was hanging him there, boy. Oh, wow.
It was brutal. Like, they screwed it up a little tiny bit, and wouldn't even call it screwed it up. It's just as much as like,
you know, so.
yeah.
Kenny leaps over the rope and drives Mox through a table and then retrieves a canvas bag from beneath the ring. Inside the bag are shards of broken glass, supposedly from the coffee table.
The funny part of this was Kenny pulling this bag out and acting like it's like his fucking precious.
Right.
And he's like just so careful, and he's unwrapping it, and like you can see like just the pure sadism on his face as he's unwrapping this bag.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you have in there? Is that like, that's your flashlight? It's like
Kenny slides a shard of glass across the space in between Moxley's fingers, which looked really painful, but again was another one where it's like, okay, if that was real glass, that'd be fucking terrible. Then spills the bag of broken glass all over the mat.
well, after he crunched it up.
Sure, yes. Mox takes a spine buster onto the glass, gets dragged across the glass, gets sharpshootered on the glass, and has to crawl through it to reach the rope. And the visual itself is enough in the moment, and I think that's what they were banking on, is like, yeah, in hindsight, people are going to be able to go like, yeah, real glass would have fucked him up a lot more than that. But in the moment, it's still going to be like, oh, shit, which is, it was. Omega grabs a handful of glass and sticks it in Moxley's mouth, and then takes a German suplex on the glass before hitting Mox with a V-trigger with the glass still in Mox's mouth, which was pretty rough. Kenny pulls the screwdriver from the turnbuckle pad, scrapes it across Moxley's forehead, and then calls out to the Bucks and Paige to, quote, bring it, end quote. And they refuse at first, but then Kenny convinces him that he needs it. It appears to be a contraption made from an old-timey bed frame and barbed wire, which Kenny intends to one-winged angel Mox onto this platform of death. Mox suplexes Kenny onto it instead, a move that is more mutually assured destruction than offensive maneuver.
Yeah, which as we get into this, we need to repeat the quote of the night from you. Thank you, Orange. I'll just live here now amongst the barbs.
After the moments it takes to climb out of the nest, which it does take a little bit of time, Kenny V-triggers Mox through the full gear sign, which I thought was kind of a callback to the fireman's carry off the poker chips.
Yes, I think that was designed to be, and was a great symbolic moment.
Yeah. And the full gear logo itself looks like a poker chip, right? So I don't know. I think it was all kind of planned stuff that they had. The men chase one another back to the ring. This is when Mox drops Kenny with a paradigm shift on the glass, which when that doesn't score a pin, Mox grabs a razor and starts cutting the apron off the ring. He cuts.
When he grabbed that razor, I was like, oh shit, we're going dark.
He cuts the canvas free. He tears up the mat. He exposes like nearly half of the ring's bare boards, which are just these two. But for people who don't know, that's what a ring is. It's that 1 inch
It's
padding.
2x8s. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's boards, right? Mox attempts a Gotch-style pile driver on the boards, perhaps a shout-out to Jerry Lynn, who was famous for doing that move and works backstage. Kenny drops him with a backdrop on the boards instead. Omega follows with Mox's own paradigm shift on the boards, but it's still not enough. Kenny goes for a Phoenix splash. Mox rolls. Kenny crashes and burns on the bare boards.
Yeah, like he landed so bad, dude.
It looked like he hit his head. I don't know that he
I'm
did.
not convinced that he didn't hit his head hard.
Mox follows with his super elevated paradigm shift on the boards. 1, 2, 3. Winner, Jon Moxley. Devastating match. Fucking A, dude. Like, oh my God. And those last few moves on the board were just so devastating. But yeah, I'm sitting there thinking, like, how much difference did that fucking 1 inch of compressed foam ever make? You know what I mean?
It's
like,
probably not a lot of difference because they're used. It's foam rubber. It's not real. It's not even foam rubber. It's just foam. It's like you would put on your. It's like an egg crate you put on your bed.
Right.
It's not a lot, but it's enough to make it feel a little bit better. The bigger thing here is how Kenny landed on that Phoenix splash.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think if it was the bare boards or had the mat over it, he's probably still gonna be pretty fucked up after that one.
Now,
he really just didn't land right.
it is important to note that Felicia, our board member who was there, or Discord server member, community member who was there, said that he was looking pretty groggy after the match, had to be helped to the back. Now, with Kenny, who knows if that was real? Who knows if
You
it
can
was
never tell
selling?
with that motherfucker because he sells everything.
I wouldn't put it past him to just sell like he had a concussion and then gets back through the curtain and goes, fucking A, right? You know? But man, Mox into the camera, turns and goes, does that mean I'm number 4 now? Or am I number 5, 4 or 5? This is in reference to the
top 5 rankings.
the top 5 rankings that they do on the website. He says, how does that work? Fuck you, that's how it works. Mox gives his barbed wire bat a kiss and then throws it away. He looks into the lens and says, be careful what you wish for, motherfuckers. You just might get it. And that's the end to the match. And that feels like, yeah, I yell out to anyone like, hey, if you wanted more violence, this is more violence. You know, he's saying it to the back. He's saying it to the fans. He's saying it to everyone. Like, this is what violent wrestling looks like. If this is what you want, then okay. But not surprised that Meltzer didn't like it. Seems like the type of thing he wouldn't like. But me, I thought it was great, you know, despite my sort of reservations about it kind of half-stepping on the blood thing. But I get that, you know. I think they didn't half-step on the brutality of the hits or anything like that. Like, you know, doing shit on the boards, like, that's fucking hard, man. And, you know, all the barbed wire cage thing, you know, like, they did a bunch of stuff that I thought was really cool and really great. It was really long, but it didn't feel really long in that, like, I want it to end. It was just like, oh man, now they're doing more stuff. Holy shit.
Yeah, and like we as it was getting a little bit towards the end, we're like, how long has this been going on? It's like, it's been going for like 45 minutes. Damn.
Yeah.
Because it didn't feel like it. You were so engaged that you were interested in what was going to keep going and how everything was going. You weren't like, oh man, it's 25 minutes in, we got 10 more to go. It wasn't that kind of a thing. It was a very well put together match. Could have been a little shorter, sure, but I'm not mad at it.
No, I'm glad that it was as long as it was. I wouldn't have cut any of that shit, you know, like, go all night as long as it's good, you know what I mean? So
from callback to a little earlier, for the Cody MJF thing.
Yeah.
So MJF was introduced as Cody's best friend in BTE episode 135.
Mm-hmm.
Title of that episode was Full Gear.
That's weird.
That's cool though. That's fucking cool.
That's really weird.
Good times, man.
That makes me deeply uncomfortable.
Good. We did it.
Oh man.
We've turned your heart to darkness and we've made you uncomfortable. My goal for the weekend is achieved.
The implications of Wednesday are huge. I think probably bigger now than they've ever been. And maybe that's just because it's the first time we've seen a pay-per-view that has TV coming right after it in a real way, you know, that isn't like, oh, the show's debuting or whatever. Like we're
yeah, like we kind of did with All Out going into TV, but like we had such a big chunk of time there. It's like, okay, cool. we already know everything. The storylines are going to be progressed through other means as we get to TV.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. I really, really loved it, and I'm looking forward to seeing where they go from here. YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, and podcast services everywhere. Subscribe, review, give us 5 stars, just like old Daddy Meltzer. It makes us feel so sweet. Jonathan, how sweet?
Too sweet, buddy.
Too sweet. Facebook.com/Seeing the Elite. Twitter @Seeing the Elite. If you really want to join our community of Discord server, community of fans from all over the world who love the show, love AEW, tinyurl.com/Seeing the Elite. That's tinyurl.com/Seeing the Elite will get you an invite to our Discord server. We had 2 people from the Discord server that were at the show last night, and they were sharing great pictures from their seats. Felicia, in particular, had awesome pictures that she was sharing with us all night, which was cool. Once again, if you want to become one of our best friends, one of our inner circle, head to patreon.com/Seeing the Elite and subscribe. Thanks to all of you that have watched the show live. Any of you out there that watch the show live, thanks to our patrons. Alejandro Diaz, Bill Laviolette, Chris Genro, El Avoth, Keith Kazulno, Mikhail, Merman, and Peter. Thanks to all you guys who help make this show better and better every week. Everybody else, I don't know. Jonathan, you got anything else before I let these people go?
Yeah, go follow Chucky T on Twitter because there's some gold there, buddy.
I concur on that one.
His tweet last night after Hangman's match of every time Hangman says cowboy shit, it's a deep cut to my soul. It's just so good, man.
We'll be back very soon within the week with another episode of Seeing the Elite and AEW podcast. Until then, go out and change the world.